Yo, how's it going, guys? Hope you guys are good. Another day, another dawn. Today I wanted to speak about another subject. This one might actually have different parts to it. I mean, it's a very big subject. I just wanted to kind of maybe like start the conversation and get it going. And this is on the topic of love. The four-letter word, ladies and gentlemen. Love. Interesting word. Interesting word. What is it? We ask ourselves. I mean, everything in life that's created is created out of symbols. It's symbolic, the word love. It's something else in another language. In isiXhosa, because I'm Xhosa, utando. So, I mean, all of those is just different words for different things, for different meanings. But now it's like, what is this meaning? What is it actually, this thing that we are naming? Because it is something intangible. I mean, it's not something I can call nuts. Okay, I don't know if I should brand this, but we can see this and we call it nuts. We call it peanuts, actually. And things like love is a very intangible thing that we cannot see. Or is it that we cannot see? That's another question for another day, because it's all about how you perceive what seeing is. Do you see only with your eyes, or do you also see with your mind? Do you see with your spirit? Do you see with your heart? So love, I mean, how do we see love? How do we even comprehend it? What is it? Basic definition. Now we're just starting it from the foundation before we get to the whole other stuff, about it being the romantic thing, or it being whatever else people would describe it to be in all its categories. Let's try to find out what it is. What is the core? And this is just a discussion I'm creating. I mean, not everything I say here, by the way, on this channel is the ultimate truth. I think it's just something I would like to talk about, that we all talk about. I mean, I will give you in this channel my opinion on things, a lot of my opinion. And if you can resonate with it or not, that's up to you. If you disagree or you agree, that's why we open the floor. I think what love is, the term, it's describing something beyond emotion. It's describing a action. It's describing a way of life. So I think you can live in love, and you can also perform love. You can also give love, you can receive love. So love is like this intangible thing we don't understand, but we understand. We understand it as people because it is I believe it to be our core. I believe it to be our source of life, from the life giver, the creator. And, you hear these different religions talk about God is love, and that just takes it to a whole other level of understanding what love is. So it's just this force. It's a very powerful force that we try to understand and we try to perceive in our everyday life, if you are looking into it, that is. So love is just, I feel, is this force that connects everything together, why everything moves the way it does, why life in the natural realm is functioning. Everything is functioning off love, and tapping into that power can be very powerful, because you are also a product of love, just as everything is. And I feel you are the greatest representation of its purest form, because you are made in the image of the creator, who is it. So I believe also that love can cover a multitude of, I think not even a multitude. Love can cover everything about whatever is negative. It's the ultimate positive energy. It is a positive energy. It's a positive force, the most powerful force. So let's put it on our day to day. Now that we've kind of tried to describe what this thing is, let's just put it, for example, a relationship I have with my mom. Okay. That is more of an unconditional love, they describe it to be, right? And that unconditional love is a love you didn't try to work for, a love you didn't choose, you know, a love you didn't do anything to deserve. It just is, it just exists, you know. This person fed you, they clothed you, they gave you a home, they paid for your school, you know, they gave you the best life that they could, even though you had nothing to do with it. All you had to do was be born. And we don't even choose to be born, we just are, we just exist, right? So given that love, that is unconditional love, right? The love that you get from your parents, the love that you get from how, I don't want to really say family, because also that's another subject, but let me just say your parents, okay, like straight up. And this is what also religions believe to be what God is to us, being unconditional love to us, not choosing, you know, or working for the love, but we just have it because we are a product of His creation, and we are the ultimate product of His creation, and highest on the hierarchy of life on this earth, right? That is the one side where we can try to understand it. And then there is another side where, let's just say, for definition's sake, friend, let's say friend. A love for a friend is, you would maybe agree that it's kind of earned in a way. You don't just love somebody, right? You don't even know them. That is the tricky thing about this whole thing. You say you don't just choose to love them, right? You guys grow together based on whatever you guys relate to, and you guys build a friendship, and through that friendship that you guys start building, the love grows and you guys start loving each other, until some people would even get to a point of willing to die for that person. And I think it's the same with relationships. I mean, you don't know somebody, you meet somebody, you guys grow, and don't mind our day and age where everybody sleeps together on the same night, but I mean genuine relationship where there's a whole getting to know the person and understanding them and going through the trials and tribulations together, until you get to a point where your bond is so strong and that you guys love each other that you can't easily be separated. Now that's a good point that I made there, the easily separated. What is this thing? Some people say they don't believe in love. I say I do, because once you bond with somebody, you know, it's like, it's not easy to leave. When I mentioned the unconditional love, that was the love with your mom and you, right? You can't separate yourself from that. You know, how far you go in life, you'll always be a part of that bond. Whether you are a mother or whether you're a child, you'll always be a part of that bond. You don't have to be together, but you guys are connected. There's a connection to it. You don't just walk and look at your mom and feel nothing, you know. If you saw your mom out there up to some stuff, it would really hit you. It would really affect you, because you love them. So there is something, there's a bond. And it happens when you build relationships with people as well. So I was mentioning the romantic, with the partner. You build that relationship and you guys are bonded. That's why it's so hard to leave relationships, and that's why sometimes you get people who are in abusive relationships but they still stay, and people have this opinion of always telling them that, just leave, why don't you just leave, you know, why don't you dump them and go for someone else? It's not that easy, especially if you've built a bond with that person for years. And people don't see the bond, you know. It's easy to talk, but only the person that's going through it knows what it feels like. They can feel the bond. That's why they can't just break away. You guys are literally spiritually connected. So whether you believe this, that's why I'm like, it's always important to seek truth, because whether you believe in these things or not, I feel truth is truth and things exist. And if you see it, you know, evidently, and you open your eyes to these things, you start to see more, and you start to see that these things exist. You know, you don't just separate from somebody, you feel a certain attachment. So that is like one that you build. Now I want to go a step further and say living the life of love. Now I want to go into living in love. All right. Like I said, man, this is part one. This thing can go on forever. I actually am even planning to have a guest over, talk to them as well about it, and we have a whole discussion. But I just want to start it off just me and you guys. What I feel like it is, because I feel like there's levels to it. There's living in love, where now you love unconditionally and you love everything and everyone. Now you ask, how does that happen? How can you love someone you don't know? How can you love a stranger, someone who hurts you, someone who did wrong by you, someone who didn't pay you back, someone who literally owes you money. I mean, someone who beat you up in primary school. How do you love somebody like that? And that, I feel, is like the next level. That is like the spiritual level of love. As much as, actually, let me not put it like that, because I do feel love itself is a spiritual thing. Let me say a higher state of love. People call it the agape love. Let me put it like, you guys can check that out. Agape, A-G-A-P-E. They call it God's love. So if we are made in the image of the Creator, therefore we have the same characteristics. English. We have the same characteristics as the Creator, and we can nurture those characteristics in ourselves, right? If the Creator can love unconditionally everything and everyone, then surely we can too, right? And we tend to do a lot of things that go against the ways of nature, which is how the Creator created everything, because we are free thinking beings. So do you feel like maybe we're still loved? If it's unconditional, then yes. So can we do the same on earth with everyone around us, no matter how much somebody hurts us, no matter how much sometimes people double cross us? Can we still love them? Can we be true about it too? And I'm not just saying it out your mouth. I mean actually living it. That's why I'm calling it living in love. So what I think living in love is literally all the points that I made of being able to forgive, okay? Being able to understand somebody beyond what you are preconceived to understand about the person's actions, okay? Being able to see beyond what your naked eye sees about the person, whether they are in a certain type of environment, a certain group of people that you always despised, whether it's a gang or whatever the society is painted to be bad. Some things are bad. I'm not trying to say that in ways of like trying to say that is right, but I'm just saying that whether they are, whatever is a preconceived idea to be bad, can you still love that person beyond that? So that is more about looking in deeper towards a person's soul, beyond what product they've become. Somebody could have been a rapist. Let me be straight up. I mean, it's a tough subject. Somebody could have been a rapist. Somebody could have been a murderer. And I will ask you, do you love that person? I know a lot of us wouldn't comfortably say if we do. A lot of us wouldn't comfortably, confidently say, I love that person. Because then you could say that, but I put you in the room with that person to interact with. You'd be very uncomfortable. You'd feel there'd be a lot of judgment in your mind. There'd be a lot of confusion and distance. You'd disconnect. So that's why I'm like, this thing is like a higher state of love when you live in love. Because when you live in love, it becomes what you are by nature. You start accepting people, you start forgiving people, you start understanding people, getting into their soul. And that is the point where you really start to understand human beings, you start to understand a person deeper, and you can actually change the person's life. So we ask ourselves, well, how can we change the world? How can we change these things? And people always say the message is love. And they say it loosely. It is true. I feel like it's definitely true. I think we need to understand what it is first, you know, to describe, to say that, to say, oh, what will solve this is love, because it's cool to say. I think like it goes deeper than that. The things that I mentioned of being able to come together and accepting, you know, somebody despite where they come from, despite what ideas they're bringing into your head about the stuff they did, or what they think, or what their opinions are, what their lifestyle is. You still love that person because they're human beings, beyond being what they are physically, but because they're human beings, and you see them as a fellow brother and sister. So that's a whole other deep, and that's what I feel like is the agape love, and that's the deepest form of love, and that is something that I am personally trying to aspire to. I'm trying to get there, because it's like, if you can get there, man, you're almost perfect. In the fact that your flaws are no better than someone else's. Accepting that you are just like that person. Whether the person is an alcoholic, a drug addict, a rapist, a murderer, you can look at yourself and say, you are the same person. Yes, you've never committed those acts. But if that person can do that, then you have the capability to do the same thing. Maybe if you lived the exact same path that that person lived, you might have made the same decisions. If you lived the same exact journey that person went through, you might have made the same decisions, or worse, or better. But you would have been put into that temptation. And how many of us deal with temptation lightly? How many of us deal with temptation easily? Don't we all fall? I mean, I will admit myself, I know that I am tempted by things and I do fall. I try to work on myself. I try to be a better person. I try to do better every day. But I'm a human being, and I have certain urges, and sometimes circumstances don't meet up to my desires, and I do wrong to get those desires. And it happens with all of us. I've seen it all around me. I've never in my entire life met somebody I can say, okay, this person's perfect. Except, of course, people you don't really know, like your pastor, where they are put up to be perfect, but you actually know nothing about them. You don't even know if your pastor probably was at a strip club 2 weeks ago. No, like, I'm being serious right now. I know it's very controversial of me to say, okay, but if you really think about it, if it's possible for you to do certain things, it's possible for someone else. So that's why I'm always adamant on people not judging each other too much. I mean, I believe there should be consequences for certain actions, okay, because we don't want to live in a dangerous world now where we allow everything to happen, and, you know, because then we would let the people who are murderous murder us and have no consequence. So obviously there needs to be laws in place to govern. But look at yourself and say, am I better than that person? As much as my consequence is not as drastic as that person's consequence, am I still missing the mark? Am I still doing wrong at the end of the day? Am I still doing the wrong thing? Am I still not being right? And I also believe that there is no subjectivity to right and wrong. I believe we are all built in with a certain consciousness that is that allows us to know right and wrong. We know right and wrong. Every human being has that internal thing. That's why we're always in conflict with ourselves when we do wrong. We feel bad when we do wrong. We feel good when we do good. I mean, I'll challenge you. Go out right now, give a homeless person $100. Just do it. Just $100. Literally, go out on the street. The first poor person, the first beggar that you see, give them $100, and then just feel how that makes you feel inside. Just feel it. Feel how you feel. Feel how your mood is. And try understand. Meditate on it. Don't just ignore it. Like, literally feel how that makes you feel. Or when you make people laugh. Something as small as that, making someone's life better. Just saying a joke and seeing them laugh, how that makes you feel. Just small positive things. And then see how it makes you feel. I don't want to tell you to go too wrong now, but whenever you do something wrong, just pay attention to your feelings. How do you feel about it? And then you come and tell me if it worked or not, and tell me that we don't have an internal navigation or gauge of morality that's built in us, a universal right and wrong, a universal morality. I mean, even the thieves and the murderers, I feel they feel those things. When you murder somebody, I don't think you're ever okay again. Like, sometimes maybe they find it necessary. Most of the people that do this is out of desperate matters. They poor at home, they want to rob somebody so they can feed their family, and then something goes wrong and they don't want to be caught, and then they kill that person in order to protect themselves, but they don't feel great about it. Okay? So love is seeing things like that, and that lens of being like, I can see beyond what you're doing, and I can try and understand you, and I can sit down and actually listen to you and try and understand why you do what you do. And you'll find that person has a lot of skeletons, and they just say and they speak, and sometimes they start crying, and you're just like, whoa, I never knew this. It changes your whole perspective. It changes your whole mentality about life and people and stuff, you know. So I advise that, man, just to try and look beyond yourself for once, see beyond, and try look at life in a more open-minded state, and try experience and try live in love. Because the more you live in love, the more you learn, the more you grow as well. Because you're connecting into the most powerful force in the universe. And this is just something I'm speaking out of experience, because I told you that I'm trying to get there. But in me trying to get there, I've already been experiencing these certain things. And it gives me life. It gives me a reason to live, you know. Yeah, man, I think let's cut it there for now. Let's cut it there for now. I ramble a lot. I said this in the last video. But let's talk about this stuff. Let's create the conversation. Let me know what you guys think is love. Tell me your thoughts. Tell me what you experienced, if you ever lived in love. Tell me what you experienced when you did some good deed for someone, or when you did a bad deed. Let's talk about this stuff, man. Let's talk about it. I'd also love to know from your guys' side what you guys think. We're all learning at the end of the day. I'm still learning. I mean, I'm still a young man. So I'm just writing this life thing and trying to learn and trying to get more and more inquisitive so that I can gain more information, so I can give more information. So let's talk about it, man. Tell me what you guys think. And yeah, we'll have another discussion about this. I'll probably have a guest over, as I said. But yeah, otherwise, man, peace and love.
Stick up, chisa, my dick in my leg. It was side, boogie, boogie.